I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. What I'm about to tell you changed my life forever, and I need you to. At my daughter's wedding, she pulled me aside during the reception and said, "Mom, Christian doesn't want you here. You need to leave. Now." I walked out without a word, drove 90 minutes home in complete silence. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just sat in my car in the driveway for 3 hours wondering what I'd done wrong. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Audrey. "Mom, I need the property papers for the farm. We have investors waiting." I took a breath and gave her an answer that changed everything, an answer that made her realize who her husband really was. But before I tell you what I said, you need to understand how I got there. You need to know about the 55 acres my great-grandfather bought with broken hands, about the sacrifice, about the night I signed papers that would protect our family's land forever, even if it meant losing my daughter. The pen weighs nothing in my hand. It's just a regular ballpoint, the cheap kind Eleanor Price keeps in a cup on her desk. But as I stare down at the signature line, it might as well be made of lead. My fingers hover over the paper. I notice they're trembling. Outside the window, rain taps against the glass. August rain, the impatient kind. Tap, 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 like someone drumming their fingers on a desk, waiting for an answer, waiting for me to make a choice I can't take back. My phone buzzes again. I don't look at it. I already know who it is. Audrey, my only daughter, 24 years old. She's been calling for 3 days straight now. 78 missed calls. I've counted every single one. Eleanor Matthews sits across from me, patient as ever. She's been my lawyer for 2 years now, ever since Robert passed, and I needed help understanding all the paperwork he left behind. She's seen women like me before. Women who come to her office carrying invisible weights on their shoulders. Women who have to choose between their hearts and their survival. "Take your time, Destiny," she says softly, sliding a glass of water toward me. There's no rush, but there is. There's always a rush. I look back at the papers spread across her mahogany desk. I've read every page twice, maybe 3 times. The words irrevocable and permanent are printed in bold, like the lawyers knew that women like me need the reminder. Once I sign, there's no going back. Not for anything. Not for anyone. The smell of her perfume, something floral expensive, fills the small office. It's different from my world. Different from antiseptic hospital hallways and the red Georgia clay that never quite washes out from under my fingernails no matter how hard I scrub. I lift the pen again. 4 words. That's all it took to destroy everything I thought I understood about my daughter. 4 words spoken in Audrey's own voice 1 week after her wedding to a man I'd met exactly once. 4 simple words that made me realize I didn't know her anymore. But that's not where this story starts. Not really. The real story began 3 weeks ago on a sweltering August morning when I drove 90 minutes to a wedding venue outside Atlanta. The story began with a champagne glass trembling in my hands and my daughter asking me to leave. My alarm went off at 4:47 a.m. I didn't need it. I'd been awake since 4, staring at the ceiling of my bedroom, watching darkness soften into gray. My heart had been pounding for hours, the kind of nervous energy that comes before something important, before your only child's wedding day. I slipped out of bed quietly. Not that there was anyone to wake, just the sound of this Georgia morning settling around the farmhouse. Crickets still singing. Heat already building even in August's pre-dawn darkness. In the kitchen, I spread the dress across the back of a chair. Navy blue, knee-length, the kind of formal thing I never wore. $200. I'd counted out the cash at the department store, and the cashier's eyes had flickered with something pity maybe as she rang it up. I didn't let it bother me then. Audrey had specifically asked for formal attire for family. I wasn't going to show up to my only child's wedding looking anything less than put together. My hands shook a little as I buttoned it up. Not from cold. From something else. Something I couldn't quite name. In my purse, tucked carefully into an envelope, was the wedding gift. $15,000. Every overtime shift I'd picked up at the hospital over the past 18 months. Every weekend I'd skipped my own rest, standing on swollen feet in strangers' homes, helping families who needed in-home nursing care. $15,000 meant to represent all the years of love, of sacrifice, of belief in her future. I'd planned to hand it to her quietly during the reception. During one of those rare moments when we might be alone together, I imagined the conversation, how I'd tell her how proud I was, How much her father would have loved to see this. How beautiful she looked as a bride. Robert. The thought of him always came at moments like this. He'd been gone 14 years now, but sometimes I could still hear his voice as clear as day. She's going to be such a beautiful woman, Destiny. You're going to be so proud. I grabbed my purse and keys. The drive to Atlanta took an hour and a half from Bibb County. I left at 5:15 before the sun had finished rising and pointed my old sedan toward the city. The road was mostly empty. Just me and a few truckers headed the same direction. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I drove. I tried to settle the flutter in my chest. Why was I so nervous? My father used to say that a mother knows things. That instinct runs deeper than logic. Trust your gut, Destiny, he'd told me years ago when I was young and scared of making the wrong choices. Your body knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. And my gut was telling me something. That today would change everything. That this moment would matter in ways I couldn't predict. I pushed the thought away and focused on the road. The wedding venue was beautiful. A converted barn called the Sycamore Creek Estate, with ivy crawling up stone walls and massive windows that let in the August light. Audrey had found it online months ago and immediately called to tell me about it. She'd sounded so happy then, so full of dreams. I pulled into the parking lot at 9:45 a.m., nearly 2 hours early. Perfect time to help with whatever needed doing. As I stepped out of the car and smoothed down my navy dress, I could see them already. Florists arranging towering displays of white roses, caterers carrying boxes toward the kitchen entrance, the event coordinator moving from station to station with her tablet clutched to her chest. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Not the actual ceremony, though I wanted to see that too, but this moment right here. Being needed, being useful, being part of something bigger than myself. I walked toward the entrance, my heels clicking on the stone pathway. A young woman in a black suit stopped me at the door. "Name?" she asked, glancing at her clipboard. "Destiny Bennett. I'm the mother of the bride." She scanned her list, frowned slightly, then smiled. "Of course. Welcome, Mrs. Bennett. The bridal suite is upstairs, second door on the left. Audrey's been asking about you." My heart lifted. She'd been asking about me. I climbed the stairs, each step making my pulse quicken with anticipation. I knocked softly on the door marked Bridal Suite. "Come in," Audrey's voice bright and cheerful. I pushed open the door. The room was chaos. Beautiful chaos. 3 bridesmaids in matching lavender dresses, a makeup artist working on someone's eyes, hair curlers and bobby pins scattered across every surface. And there, in the center of it all, was my daughter. Audrey stood in front of a full-length mirror, her wedding dress a cascade of white lace and silk. Her dark hair was already styled, pulled back in an elegant updo. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like a stranger. Not in a bad way. Just different. Older. More polished. Like she'd stepped into a version of herself I didn't quite recognize. "Mom!" She turned when she saw me, and for just a moment her face lit up with genuine happiness. "You're here?" She crossed the room and hugged me. Quick, careful not to mess up her dress. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," I said, and I meant it. "Your father would be so proud." Something flickered across her face. Sadness, maybe. Or guilt. "I wish Dad was here," she said quietly. "Me too, baby. Me too." One of the bridesmaids cleared her throat. "Audrey, we need to finish your makeup. We're running behind schedule." Audrey pulled away from me. "Mom, can you wait downstairs? Christian's family is already here. I want you to meet them before the ceremony." "Of course. Whatever you need." I left the bridal suite and made my way back downstairs. The reception area was starting to fill up. Guests arriving early claiming seats. I recognized a few faces, Audrey's friends from college, some distant cousins I hadn't seen in years. And then I saw him, Christian Walker, my future son-in-law, the man Audrey had been dating for 6 months, the man she was about to marry. I'd never met him before, not once. They'd been long distance, she'd explained. He worked in Atlanta. She'd been finishing her degree in Savannah. They'd only seen each other on weekends. And then suddenly in April she'd called me with the news. "Mom, I'm engaged. We're getting married in August, 4 months. From engagement to wedding in 4 months." I'd been surprised, but I hadn't questioned it. Young love moves fast, and Audrey had always been independent, always sure of what she wanted. Now seeing Christian for the first time, I understood why she'd fallen for him. He was handsome. Tall, well-built, with perfectly styled dark hair and a smile that probably charmed everyone he met. He wore a tailored gray suit that fit him like it had been made for him. Probably had been. He was standing near the bar talking to a group of men I didn't recognize, laughing at something one of them said. I approached slowly, not wanting to interrupt. One of the men noticed me and nodded in my direction. Christian turned. His eyes swept over me. Navy dress from a department store. Sensible heels. Purse I'd owned for 5 years. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite disdain, but close. Like he was calculating my worth and finding it lacking. "You must be Destiny," he said, extending his hand. His smile was perfect. His handshake was firm, but his eyes were cold. "Christian, it's so nice to finally meet you." "Likewise, Audrey's told me so much about you." Had she? Because she'd told me almost nothing about him. "This is my brother Graham," Christian gestured to the man beside him. Older, maybe mid-40s, with the same polished appearance but harder edges. "He's my best man." Graham shook my hand without smiling. "Mrs. Bennett." "Please call me Destiny." He didn't respond to that. "And these are some of our investors," Christian continued, waving vaguely at the other men. "We work together in real estate development. Investors. At a wedding." The flutter in my chest returned. "Well, I won't keep you from your friends," I said. "I just wanted to introduce myself." "Of course. We'll talk more at the reception." I walked away, that uneasy feeling growing stronger with every step. Something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I could feel it in my bones. The ceremony was beautiful, simple and elegant. Pastor Stone from our family church officiated, speaking about love and commitment and building a life together. I sat in the front row watching my daughter promise forever to a man I'd spoken to for less than 2 minutes. When they kissed, everyone applauded. I clapped too, but my hands felt numb. The reception started at 11:30. The barn had been transformed into something magical, fairy lights strung across exposed beams, tables covered in white linens, flowers everywhere. I found my assigned seat at a table near the back. Not the family table, not even close to it. My name card read, Destiny Bennett, guest not mother of the bride. Just guest. I told myself it was a mistake, a simple oversight. These things happen with wedding planning. The meal was served. "Chicken or fish?" the server asked. I chose chicken. It tasted like nothing. Speeches began. Graham gave a toast about his brother, about success and ambition, and taking what you deserve in life. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Audrey's maid of honor gave a sweet speech about friendship and finding true love. No one mentioned me. No one asked me to speak. I sat at my table in the back, eating chicken that tasted like cardboard, watching my daughter celebrate the biggest day of her life. And I was invisible. After dinner, the DJ started playing music. People moved to the dance floor. I stood thinking maybe I could catch Audrey for a moment. Give her the envelope. Tell her I loved her. I spotted her near the dessert table, laughing with Christian. His hand was on her lower back. Possessive, controlling. I approached them carefully. "Audrey, sweetheart." She turned and her face changed. Not happiness, not even neutral. Fear. Just for a second, a flash of something like panic crossed her eyes. "Mom," she said. The word sounded like a warning. "I just wanted to steal you for a minute. Just the two of us." Christian's hand tightened on her back. I saw it, the way his fingers pressed into the fabric of her dress. Audrey glanced at him, then back at me. "Mom, can we talk outside?" "Of course." She led me through the crowd, out a side door into a small courtyard. String lights overhead. Ivy-covered walls. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a trap. Audrey turned to face me. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, I need to tell you something." My heart was pounding now, hard enough that I could hear it in my ears. "What is it, sweetheart?" "Christian, he doesn't want you here." The words didn't make sense at first. I actually laughed. A short, confused sound. "What do you mean here at the reception?" "He says," she swallowed hard. "He says you're too controlling, that you always try to run my life, that you make him uncomfortable." I couldn't breathe. "Audrey, I haven't even spoken to Christian except for 2 minutes before the ceremony. How could I possibly—" "I know, Mom. I know. For just a moment, her voice cracked. But he saw the way you were looking at things. At him. He said you were giving off a controlling energy. Controlling energy. From a woman who'd contributed $15,000 she didn't have. From a woman who'd been here since before sunrise ready to help. From a woman who'd been sitting at a table in the back like she was nobody. Audrey, he thinks it would be better if you left. The word hung between us. Left. He thinks, I repeated slowly, or you think she wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom, I'm sorry, I really am. But you have to go, now. I opened my mouth, closed it. My hands were shaking so badly I had to clasp them together. Okay, I heard myself say. My voice sounded very far away. Okay. I didn't hug her. Didn't try to give her the envelope. Didn't say any of the things I'd planned all morning. I just turned and walked back through the reception, my heels clicking against marble floors, a sound like a countdown, like a clock marking the end of something. People were dancing, laughing, celebrating. No one noticed me leave. I drove home in complete silence. 90 minutes through the Georgia heat, hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white, and the whole time one question kept circling through my mind. What just happened? I had no idea that the worst was still coming, that the next morning would change everything. The farmhouse was dark when I pulled into the driveway, just the porch light I'd left burning that morning before everything fell apart. I sat in the car for a long time, engine off, windows down, listening to the Georgia night, crickets singing, a dog barking somewhere in the distance, the wind moving through the pecan trees my great-grandfather had planted 70 years ago. Normal sounds, normal night, but nothing felt normal anymore. I finally got out of the car, walked up the porch steps, unlocked the door. Inside the house was exactly as I'd left it. Coffee cup in the sink from this morning, navy dress bag hanging on the coat rack I'd brought a change of clothes that I'd never gotten to use. The envelope with $15,000 was still in my purse. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at it. All those hours, all those overtime shifts, standing on swollen feet until they ached, skipping meals to save money, saying no to every small luxury so I could save this for her. For what to be thrown out of her wedding like I was nobody, I should have cried. Normal people would have cried, but I didn't. I just sat there feeling cold and hollow and confused. What did I do wrong? The question wouldn't leave me alone. I replayed every interaction, every conversation, looking for the moment I'd failed, the moment I'd become controlling. I couldn't find it. I'd been supportive when she'd announced her engagement. Surprised by the timeline, yes, but supportive. I'd sent money when she'd asked for help with the wedding deposit. $5,000 I'd pulled from my savings. I'd said yes to everything she'd asked. The date, the venue, the guest list. I'd never even met Christian before today. How could I have been controlling unless this wasn't about me at all? The thought came slowly, like dawn breaking. What if Christian was the one who wanted me gone? What if he'd convinced Audrey I was the problem? But why? What possible reason could he have? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. I stood up exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with the drive. Exhausted in my bones, in my soul. I needed sleep. Tomorrow I'd figure this out. Tomorrow I'd call Audrey and we'd really talk without Christian there. Tomorrow everything would make sense. I was wrong about that. I woke up to my phone ringing. The clock said 10:30. I'd slept late, which wasn't like me, but I'd also been awake until 3 in the morning replaying every moment of the wedding. The phone kept ringing. I grabbed it off the nightstand, still half asleep. Audrey's name on the screen. Relief flooded through me. She was calling. She was going to apologize. We were going to work this out. Hello? Mom. Her voice was different. Not apologetic, not warm, businesslike, rushed. Audrey, sweetheart, about yesterday. Mom, I need to ask you something. It's important. I sat up in bed suddenly very awake. Okay, what is it? I need you to send me the property deed for the farm. Silence. Complete silence. I couldn't have heard that right. The farm, Mom. The property documents. Christian and I have an incredible opportunity. Real estate development. We can subdivide it into 18 lots. Build modern homes. Audrey, stop. My voice came out sharper than I'd intended. What are you talking about? Mom, this is huge. Christian's done the research. The land is worth so much more developed than as a farm. We're talking about, Audrey, that's your great-grandfather's land. Your father, I know the history, Mom. Impatient now. But it's just sitting there. It's not productive. And Christian says. The words tasted bitter. Yes, Christian has investors ready to move. We just need the deed so we can start the process. I stood up, pacing my small bedroom. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Audrey, this isn't a decision you make in a day. This is 70 years of family history. Your great-grandfather James bought that land with money he'd saved his entire life. Your grandfather maintained it for 40 years. Your father loved that land like it was. And now it's mine, she interrupted. Or it will be, eventually. So why not use it now, while we can build something, while we can make real money? It's not yours, I said quietly. It's mine. I'm the sole owner. Your father left it to me. But I'm your only child. I'll inherit it anyway. So why not let me use it now when it can actually help me? Help us. My legs felt weak. I sat down on the edge of the bed. Help you how exactly? Mom, we'll split the profits with you, 35%. Christian's estimated we can make at least $200,000 for you, maybe more. $200,000. For a moment, just a moment, I felt the temptation. That much money would solve every financial stress I'd ever had. Medical bills, roof repairs I'd been putting off, new tires for the car, security. But then I thought about James Bennett, my great-grandfather who'd lost 3 fingers in a factory accident and still saved every penny for 30 years to buy that land. I thought about my father pulling rocks from those fields every spring so they could plant. I thought about Robert building the cottage board by board every weekend so Audrey would have a playhouse. Audrey, I need time to think about this. We don't have time. Her voice rose frustrated. Christian's meeting with investors on Friday. That's 4 days from now. We need to show them we have control of the property. 4 days for a decision about, Mom, if you don't help us. She paused. When she spoke again, her voice had dropped. Quiet. Almost a whisper. Christian says people need to know. About you being controlling. About you trying to isolate me from him. He says if you won't support us, then everyone should know what you're really like. The room tilted. Audrey, is he there with you right now? Silence. Audrey, answer me. Is Christian listening to this conversation? I have to go. Click. The dial tone buzzed in my ear. I sat there, phone in hand, trying to process what had just happened. My daughter, my sweet, smart, independent daughter, had just threatened me. On behalf of a man she'd known for 6 months. No, not threatened. Christian had threatened me, using Audrey's voice. My hands were shaking again. But this time it wasn't from fear. It was anger. I walked to my home office, the small room off the kitchen that Robert had used for paperwork and bills. Everything was still there. His filing cabinet, his desk, the old computer that barely worked anymore. I opened the filing cabinet and found the folder labeled Property Deed, Bennett Farm. Inside the deed showing 55 acres in Bibb County, Georgia. Transferred to Destiny Marie Bennett upon the death of Robert James Bennett, January 2010. 14 years. I'd owned this land for 14 years. And in 14 years, I'd never once thought about selling it, subdividing it, developing it. Because it wasn't just land, it was legacy. But Audrey didn't see it that way. Or maybe she did, and Christian had convinced her otherwise. I needed help. Real help. I picked up my phone and called Eleanor Price. She answered on the second ring. Destiny, everything okay? No, I said. No, everything is not okay. I need to see you, today if possible. What happened? My daughter just asked me for the deed to the family farm. She wants to subdivide it, sell it to developers, and when I said I needed time to think, she threatened me. Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Destiny, I think you should come to my office, right now. The drive to Macon took 40 minutes. I didn't shower, didn't change out of my pajamas and bathrobe, just threw on a coat and drove. Eleanor's office was in a modest brick building downtown. I'd been here before when Robert died and I'd needed help with the estate. She met me at the door, took one look at my face and guided me inside. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. I told her about the wedding, about being asked to leave, about the phone call that morning, about Audrey's voice, so different, so scripted. Eleanor listened without interrupting. taking notes in her precise handwriting. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. Destiny, I need to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. Okay. How much do you know about Christian Walker? Almost nothing. I met him for the first time yesterday, at the wedding. They've been dating for 6 months and you never met him. They were long distance. She was in Savannah finishing school. He was in Atlanta for work. Eleanor nodded slowly. And the wedding? 4 months from engagement to ceremony. Yes. That's very fast. I thought it was just young love, moving quickly. Maybe. Eleanor turned to her computer. Destiny, I'd like your permission to run a background check on Christian Walker. My stomach dropped. You think there's something wrong with him? I think there are red flags. Lots of them. A man you've never met marries your daughter in 4 months, then immediately asks for valuable property. That's not normal, Destiny. But Audrey loves him. I'm sure she does. But love can be manipulated, especially by someone who knows what they're doing. I thought about Christian's cold eyes, the way his hand had gripped Audrey's back, the way she'd looked at him before speaking like she was checking for permission. Do it, I said. Run the check. It'll take about 24 hours, maybe 48. I have contacts in Atlanta who can help. Okay, Eleanor leaned forward. Destiny, there's something else. Before he died, Robert came to see me, 3 weeks before he passed. My heart stopped. What? He wanted to set up a contingency plan for the farm. He said there might come a day when someone would try to take it, when you'd need protection. Robert did that. Yes, he created a framework for a conservation trust. Do you know what that is? I shook my head. It's a legal mechanism that protects land in perpetuity. Once property is placed in a conservation trust, it can't be sold, can't be subdivided, can't be developed. It's preserved forever. Forever? Yes. But here's the thing. Once you activate it, you can't undo it. It's irrevocable. So I'd lose the land. You'd lose ownership, yes, but the land would be protected. For Audrey. For future generations. No one could ever take it or destroy it. I sat back in my chair trying to process this. Robert had known. Somehow he'd known this might happen. Why didn't he tell me? Because he hoped he was wrong. Hoped you'd never need it. But he wanted you to have the option, just in case. My phone buzzed. I looked down. Audrey, again. Call number 12. I didn't answer. Let me run the background check, Eleanor said. Then we'll decide what to do. But Destiny, I want you to prepare yourself for the possibility that Christian Walker is not who he says he is. I nodded even though I didn't want to believe it. Even though believing it meant accepting that my daughter had married a man who was using her. 24 hours had never felt so long. I went home from Eleanor's office and tried to keep busy. Garden work, laundry, cleaning rooms that were already clean. But my mind wouldn't stop racing. Audrey called 17 more times that first day. I didn't answer any of them. She left voicemails. Her voice escalating from concerned to frustrated to angry. Mom, why aren't you answering? Mom, this is important. Christian needs an answer. Mom, you're being ridiculous. It's just property. Just property. 70 years of our family's blood, sweat, and tears. Just property. I wanted to call her back. Wanted to explain. But Eleanor had told me not to engage until we knew more. Don't give him any information, she'd said. Not until we understand what we're dealing with. So I waited. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Robert. About the last conversation we'd had 3 days before he died. He'd been in the hospital bed they'd set up in our living room. Morphine keeping the pain at bay, but his mind still sharp. Destiny, he'd said, his voice weak. Promise me something. Anything. Protect the farm, no matter what happens, no matter who asks you for it. Promise me you'll protect it. I'd promised. Of course I'd promised. I just hadn't known how hard that promise would be to keep. Scene 11, Eleanor's call. The call came at 5:17 p.m. the next day, Tuesday evening. I was sitting on the porch watching the sunset over the pecan grove when my phone rang. Eleanor's name on the screen. Destiny, I have the information you asked for. Can you come to my office? Now. Yes. This can't wait. 30 minutes later, I was back in her office. She had files spread across her desk, papers, printouts, documents. "Sit down," she said. I sat. Eleanor took a breath like she was steeling herself. "Destiny, what I'm about to tell you, it's not good. It's significantly worse than I thought it would be." My hands gripped the arms of the chair. "Tell me." Christian Walker has been involved in at least 3 major lawsuits over the past decade. She slid a document across the desk. Legal letterhead. Case numbers. Dates. 2019. Sued for breach of fiduciary duty. He was managing a real estate development project, promised investors a certain return, then diverted the funds. The case was settled out of court. He paid $400,000 in damages. I stared at the paper, the words swimming. 2021. Restraining order filed by his second ex-wife, Melissa Patterson. Allegations of financial coercion and emotional abuse. My chest tightened. 2023. FTC investigation for fraudulent business practices. The case was dropped due to insufficient evidence, but Destiny, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. It just means they couldn't prove it. Second ex-wife, I managed. How many times has he been married? Twice before Audrey. First marriage lasted 2 years. Second lasted 3. Eleanor slid another document toward me. I contacted both ex-wives. The first one declined to speak with me. She signed an NDA as part of her divorce settlement. But the second one, Melissa, she was willing to talk. Off the record. What did she say? Eleanor pulled out her notepad. Read from her notes. She said, and I'm quoting, "Christian targets women with assets. Land inheritance, family money. He's charming at first. Makes you feel special. Then once you're married, everything changes. He becomes controlling, demanding. He wanted access to my trust fund. When I said no, he made my life hell. Financial abuse, emotional manipulation. I left after 3 years. Lost $85,000 just to get away from him." I felt sick. "There's more," Eleanor said quietly. Christian's current financial status. He has $180,000 in debt. No property ownership. No car in his name. He's been living in Audrey's apartment since May. She's been paying the rent. She never told me that. I don't think she knows the full situation. Destiny, I also looked into his business claims. This real estate development firm he supposedly runs, it doesn't exist. He was fired from his family's company, Walker & Associates, in 2020, by his own brother. Graham. Yes, I found the termination letter. Cause ethical violations and misappropriation of client funds. My hands were shaking so badly I had to clasp them together. So everything he's told Audrey, it's all lies. Most of it, yes. He's not a successful businessman. He's a con artist. And Destiny, your farm is worth approximately $1.2 million. If he can convince Audrey to subdivide and develop it, he's looking at $3 to $4 million in profit. The room felt too small, too hot. I couldn't breathe. My daughter married a con artist. Yes. And now he wants our land. Yes? What do I do? Eleanor sat back in her chair. That's what we need to figure out. But Destiny, we need to move carefully. Christian is sophisticated, experienced. If we confront him directly, he might escalate, might manipulate Audrey even further. She's already not speaking to me. I know, but there's something else you need to see. Eleanor turned her computer screen toward me. Facebook, Audrey's page. Wedding photos from 3 days ago. I scrolled through them even though it hurt to look. Audrey in her dress. Christian in his suit. Smiling, happy. And then I saw it. A photo of Audrey and her bridesmaids getting ready in the bridal suite. Audrey's left wrist clearly visible as she reached for something. A bruise, dark purple, the size of fingers. I zoomed in. Do you see it? Eleanor asked softly. Yes. Destiny, I think your daughter is in danger. Not immediate danger, maybe, but this isn't just about money anymore. My phone buzzed. Audrey, call number 34. This time I answered. Mom? Her voice was frantic, desperate. Mom, please, we need an answer. Christian says the investors are pulling out if we can't give them confirmation by tomorrow. Please, Mom, please just sign the papers. I could hear him in the background. Christian's voice low and urgent, coaching her. Audrey, I need you to listen to me. No, you need to listen. This is my future, my husband's career, and you're destroying it because you're selfish and controlling and Audrey, those aren't your words. Yes, they are. No, sweetheart. They're his. Put Christian on the phone. What, no? Put him on the phone. Now. Rustling. Muffled voices. Then Christian's voice, smooth and cold. Mrs. Bennet, I think we need to have an honest conversation. I agree, I said. Let's start with the truth. About your 2 ex-wives, about the lawsuits, about the fact that you don't actually have any investors. Silence. Complete silence. Then, I don't know what you think you know. I know everything. I know you're $180,000 in debt. I know you were fired from your family's company. I know Melissa Patterson had to pay you to leave her alone. More silence. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. No more charm, just ice. You've been investigating me. Yes? That's a very serious mistake, Mrs. Bennet. Is it because, from where I'm standing, marrying my daughter under false pretenses seems like a much more serious mistake? Audrey loves me. Audrey doesn't know you. She knows enough, and she's my wife now, which means I have certain rights to family assets, to property, to nothing, I interrupted. The farm is in my name, solely. You have no claim to it. Not yet, but Audrey will inherit it eventually, and when she does... That's a long time to wait, Christian. How much debt are you in again? 180,000. Your creditors might not be patient that long. I could hear his breathing. Fast. Angry. You're making a very serious enemy, Mrs. Bennet. No! I'm protecting my daughter from a man who's using her. Audrey! His voice shouting away from the phone. Tell your mother. Tell her what happens if she doesn't help us. Audrey's voice small and scared. Mom, Christian says... He says if you don't cooperate, he'll have to tell people. About you. About how you're trying to control me. Trying to keep me from my husband. He says people need to know what you're really like. My heart broke. Audrey, listen to me very carefully. I love you. More than anything in this world. And because I love you, I'm going to protect you. Even if you hate me for it. Mom, I hung up. Sat there, phone in hand, trying to breathe. Eleanor was watching me. What do you want to do? She asked. I looked at her, at the files on her desk, at the evidence of Christian Walker's lies. I thought about Robert's promise, about the conservation trust he'd created just in case. I thought about 70 years of my family's legacy, about the land James Bennet had bought with broken fingers and a lifetime of savings, and I made my decision. I want to activate the trust, I said. I want to protect the farm. Permanently. Eleanor nodded slowly. You understand what that means. Once the papers are signed and filed, there's no going back. The land will be protected forever. But Audrey won't inherit it. No one will own it. It'll belong to the trust. I understand. She's going to be very angry. I know. She might never forgive you. I know that too. Eleanor pulled a file from her drawer. Thick, legal documents. Robert prepared these 14 years ago. All we need is your signature, and witnesses. How long until it can't be undone? Once I file it with the state, 72 hours. 3 days until it becomes legally irrevocable. 3 days for Audrey to hate me. 3 days for Christian to realize he'd lost. 3 days to change my daughter's life and maybe save it. Let's do it, I said. If you're just joining us, welcome back. In case you missed part 1, here's where we are. My daughter Audrey married a man named Christian Walker, a man I discovered is a con artist with a history of targeting women for their assets. Now he wants our family farm. 55 acres worth over $1 million. And I'm about to do something that might cost me my daughter forever. Let me tell you what happened next. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Tomorrow morning I was going to sign papers that would change everything. Papers that would protect the farm forever and take away any chance of Audrey inheriting it. I kept thinking about what Eleanor had said. She might never forgive you. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I about to make the biggest mistake of my life? At 3 a.m. I got out of bed and walked through the house. The farmhouse where I'd lived for 40 years. Where Robert and I had brought Audrey home from the hospital. Where we'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases and ordinary Tuesday nights. Every room held memories. I ended up in Robert's office, sat down at his old desk. The filing cabinet where I'd found the property deed was still open. And there in the back of the drawer I saw something I'd missed before. Another envelope, cream-colored, sealed. My name written across the front in Robert's handwriting. My hands shook as I picked it up. The seal cracked easily. It had been there for 14 years after all. Inside several pages. A letter. I unfolded it slowly. March 15th, 2010. My dearest Destiny, if you're reading this, Eleanor gave you this letter, which means the farm is in danger. I'm writing this from my hospital bed 3 weeks before. Well before I won't be here anymore. And there's something I need to tell you. Something I never told you while I was alive. 5 years ago, a man came to see me at church. Real estate developer. Said he'd done his research, knew our land was valuable. Offered me $800,000 for the farm. I said no, of course. Told him the land wasn't for sale. Not at any price. He didn't take it well, Destiny. Got aggressive. Threatening. Said he'd find ways to pressure me into selling. That he had connections. That he could make things difficult. I reported him to the police. They couldn't do anything, no actual threat, they said. Just a business negotiation that went bad. But it shook me. Made me realize something. There will always be people who look at our land and see dollar signs. People who don't understand what it really means. What it cost our family to keep it. And those people, they'll use any method to get what they want. Manipulation. Threats. They might even use our own family against us. So I did something. With Eleanor's help, I created a safeguard. In the filing cabinet, there's a folder marked RT-2010. Inside, you'll find documents for a conservation trust. It's already set up, already prepared. All it needs is your signature. Here's what it does. It transfers the land into protected status. Forever. No one can sell it. No one can subdivide it. No one can develop it. It'll be preserved exactly as it is now for as long as the earth stands. Now I know what you're thinking. What about Audrey? What about her inheritance? The trust includes a provision. Every year, Audrey receives a stipend from a fund I set up $2,000. Not a fortune, but something. And more importantly, she'll always have access to the land. She can live on it, use it, enjoy it. She just can't sell it. I know this sounds harsh. I know it might seem like I don't trust our daughter. But Destiny, I've seen what greed does to families. I've seen children sue their parents. Siblings destroy each other over inheritance. Good people turned into strangers by the promise of money. This trust isn't about taking something from Audrey. It's about protecting her. From bad decisions. From people who might try to use her. From herself. If you're reading this letter, someone is threatening the farm. Maybe directly, maybe through Audrey. Someone thinks they can erase 70 years of our family's sacrifice. Don't let them. Activate the trust. Sign the papers. Eleanor will help you through the process. I know this decision will be hard. I know Audrey might hate you for it. I know you might lose her at least for a while. But some love looks like saying no. Some protection looks like taking away what they think they want to save what they actually need. I'm giving you permission, Destiny. Permission to do the hard thing. The thing that might make our daughter angry. The thing that will protect her even if she never understands. Trust yourself. Trust this plan. And know that I love you. Always have. Always will. Protect the farm. Protect our daughter. Even from herself, if you have to. Forever yours, Robert. I read the letter 3 times. By the 3rd time, I was crying so hard I could barely see the words. Robert had known. 14 years ago, he'd known this might happen. Not the specifics he couldn't have known about Christian Walker, but he'd understood human nature, understood greed, and he'd given me a way out. I pressed the letter to my chest and let myself cry. For Robert, for Audrey, for the impossible choice I had to make. When I could breathe again, I went to the safe. Robert had kept it hidden behind a false panel in the office closet. Not because we had anything valuable, just because he liked his privacy. Liked knowing some things were secure. The combination was Audrey's birthday, September 24th, 0924. The safe opened with a soft click. Inside the folder marked RT-2010. I pulled it out. Thick. Legal documents. Conservation trust agreement. Already prepared. Already reviewed by lawyers. All it needed was my signature. But there was something else in the safe, too. An envelope. Thick. Heavy. I opened it. Cash. 50 $100 bills, $5,000, and a note in Robert's handwriting. Emergency fund. Use this if you ever need to start over. I love you. R. Even from beyond the grave, Robert was taking care of me. I sat on the floor of his office, surrounded by his things, and made my decision. Tomorrow I'd sign. I'd activate the trust. I'd do what Robert had asked me to do. I'd protect the farm, even if it cost me everything. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. The signing was scheduled for 10. Eleanor had arranged everything. Notary, witnesses, all the legal requirements. All I had to do was show up and sign. I showered, got dressed, navy slacks and a white blouse, the kind of outfit you wear when you need to feel strong. My phone had been buzzing all night. Audrey, Christian. Unknown numbers, 47 missed calls. I hadn't listened to any of the voicemails. Didn't need to. I knew what they'd say. Sign the papers, give us the farm. Don't be selfish. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, watched the sun rise over the pecan grove. This might be one of the last mornings I'd sit here as the legal owner of this land. By this afternoon it would belong to the trust, to the future, to a promise that would last longer than any of us. My phone rang. Not Audrey this time. Eleanor. Destiny, just checking you're still coming, right? Yes, I'm coming. Are you certain about this? Because once you sign... I'm certain Robert was right. This is what needs to happen. Okay, I'll see you at 10. And Destiny, you're doing the right thing. I hoped she was right. I arrived at Eleanor's office at 9:45. Early, but I couldn't stay at the house anymore. Eleanor was waiting with coffee and more documents. Before we do the signing, she said, there's something else you need to know. I got more information overnight. My stomach tightened. About Christian? Yes. And Destiny. It's worse than we thought. She pulled out a file, thicker than the one from yesterday. I contacted an investigator in Atlanta, someone who specializes in financial fraud. She did some digging into Christian's background, his business dealings, his personal life. Eleanor spread photos across her desk. This is Melissa Patterson, Christian's second ex-wife, a woman in her mid-30s, pretty, tired-looking. She agreed to talk to my investigator. Off the record, what she said, Destiny, it's damning. Eleanor pulled out a transcript. Melissa says Christian has a pattern. He targets women with assets, specifically women with land or property. He researches them, first property records, tax assessments, everything publicly available. My hands gripped the arms of my chair. He's charming at first, attentive, makes you feel special. Then he moves fast. Engagement within months. Marriage quickly after that. That's exactly what happened with Audrey, I whispered. I know. And here's the part that made me call you this morning. Eleanor slid another document toward me. Melissa was 8 weeks pregnant when Christian convinced her to sell her mother's house. Said they needed the money to start fresh, to build a future for their baby. My blood went cold. Destiny, I think there's a very good chance Audrey is pregnant. The timeline matches. They got married 3 weeks ago. If Christian found out before the wedding, it would explain why he's pushing so hard right now. Why he needs the farm immediately. A baby, I said. My voice sounded hollow. My grandchild. Maybe. We don't know for sure, but Destiny, if she is pregnant, Christian will use it as leverage to control her, to pressure you. I thought about the bruise on Audrey's wrist, the fear in her eyes when she'd told me to leave the wedding. What happened to Melissa's baby? I asked. Eleanor's face softened. Healthy girl, 3 years old now. But Destiny, Melissa had to pay Christian $60,000 to get him to give up custody rights. He didn't want the baby, he just wanted money, and he was willing to use his own child to get it. I felt sick. We need to move fast, Eleanor said. If Audrey is pregnant, if Christian is already threatening her, we don't have time to wait. Then let's sign, I said. Now. At 10 o'clock exactly, there was a knock on Eleanor's door. Pastor David Stone walked in. He'd been our family pastor for 30 years, married Robert and me, baptized Audrey, buried Robert. He was in his mid-60s now, gray-haired and kind-eyed. Destiny, he said, crossing the room to hug me. Eleanor told me what's happening. I'm so sorry. Thank you for coming, Pastor. Of course. Robert asked me to be here if this day ever came. He asked you. Pastor David nodded. 14 years ago, he came to me, said he was setting up the trust, said if it was ever activated he wanted me to witness it, to make sure you weren't alone. More tears. I'd cried more in the past 3 days than I had in years. The notary arrived next. Patricia Williams, professional, efficient. She set up her stamp and documents on Eleanor's desk. Mrs. Bennett, I'll need to see your identification, please. I handed over my driver's license. And you understand that the documents you're signing today are legally binding, that once filed with the state, they become irrevocable. I understand. Very well. Let's begin. Eleanor laid out the documents in order. This is the Conservation Trust Agreement, she said. 47 pages. I've marked where you need to sign. 3 places total. I picked up the pen. My hand wasn't shaking anymore. It was steady, certain. Page 23, Eleanor said. Section 5. Transfer of ownership. I read the section one more time. Destiny Marie Bennett, hereinafter referred to as grantor, does hereby irrevocably transfer all rights, title, and interest in the property located at 1847 Riverbend Road, Bibb County, Georgia, consisting of 55 acres to the Bennett Family Farm Conservation Trust. I signed. Destiny Bennett. Clean. Clear. Page 31, Eleanor continued, conservation restrictions. Said property shall be maintained in perpetuity in its current state. No subdivision, development, sale, or transfer shall be permitted. Property shall remain as agricultural land to be preserved for future generations. I signed again. And page 47, final authorization. This trust, once executed and filed with the state of Georgia, shall be irrevocable and binding. No party, including the grantor, her heirs, or assigns, shall have the power to dissolve, modify, or terminate this agreement. My pen touched the paper, and I thought about James Bennett, my great-grandfather who'd bought this land in 1954 with money he'd saved for 30 years, who'd lost 3 fingers in a factory accident but kept working, kept saving, kept dreaming of land his family could call their own. I thought about my father, who'd cleared rocks from those fields every spring, who'd planted pecan trees that would outlive him, who'd taught me that land wasn't just property, it was legacy. I thought about Robert, who'd built a cottage board by board so our daughter would have a place to play, who'd walked those fields every morning before work just to feel connected to something bigger than himself, who'd loved that land like it was part of his own soul. And I thought about Audrey, my baby girl, who'd played in those pecan groves, who'd helped me plant tomatoes every summer, who'd scattered her father's ashes under the big oak tree on the hill. The girl she'd been would understand this. The woman she'd become might hate me for it. But I was doing this for both of them, for the girl she was and the woman she could still be. I signed my name, for the 3rd and final time. Eleanor added her signature as trustee. Pastor David signed as witness. Patricia Williams notarized each page with her official stamp. And just like that, it was done. What time is it? I asked. Eleanor checked her watch. 10:47 a.m., Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. The moment was burned into my memory. The moment everything changed. I'll file these with the county clerk this afternoon, Eleanor said. They'll be officially recorded by end of business today, and then 72 hours from now, Saturday at 5 p.m., they become legally irrevocable. 72 hours. 3 days for Audrey to hate me. 3 days for Christian to realize he'd lost. 3 days until there was no going back. My phone buzzed. Audrey, call number 78. I looked at Eleanor. I need to tell her, now. Are you ready for her reaction? I stood up, smoothed my blouse, tried to prepare myself for what was coming. No, I said honestly, but it's done. She needs to know. I walked outside into the September heat, found a quiet spot under a tree, called Audrey. She answered on the first ring. Mom, finally. Audrey's voice was frantic, desperate. Mom, we've been trying to reach you for days. Where have you been? I've been busy, sweetheart. Busy, Mom? This is important. Christian needs to know about the farm. The investors' meeting is tomorrow. We need those papers today. Did you get them ready? I took a breath. Audrey, I need to tell you something. Great, yes, tell me. Did you sign them? Can you overnight them to us? I signed papers this morning. Yes. Oh, thank God. Relief flooded her voice. Okay, so just email me a copy and overnight the originals to Audrey, stop, listen to me. Something in my tone made her pause. This morning I signed papers transferring the farm into a conservation trust. Silence. Complete utter silence. Mom, what? The farm is now protected. In perpetuity. It cannot be sold. It cannot be subdivided. It cannot be developed. Mom, no. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Mom. She was screaming now. Full volume screaming. What did you do? I protected our family's legacy. That wasn't yours to decide. Yes, Audrey, it was. I'm the legal owner. I had every right. But that's my inheritance. That's my land. You had no right to take it away from me. It was never meant to be sold, Audrey. Your great-grandfather didn't buy that land so it could be chopped up and turned into subdivisions. Your father didn't maintain it so a stranger could profit from it. Christian is not a stranger. He's my husband. Audrey, I hate you. I hate you. How could you do this to me? In the background, I heard Christian's voice, sharp, demanding. What did she do? She signed it away, Audrey sobbed. The farm, she gave it away. The phone was grabbed. Christian's voice, cold, controlled, dangerous. Mrs. Bennett. Christian, what exactly have you done? I've protected my family's property from being exploited by a con artist. His breath hissed through the phone. You have no idea what you've just started. Actually, I do. I know about your 2 ex-wives. I know about the lawsuits. I know about the $180,000 in debt. I know everything. More silence. You've been investigating me, he said finally. Yes, and I know what you are, what you do, how you target women with assets and manipulate them into giving you what you want. Audrey loves me. Audrey doesn't know you. She knows enough, and she's my wife. That baby she's carrying is my child. You'll never see your grandchild, Mrs. Bennett. Never. I'll make sure of that. So Audrey was pregnant. Eleanor had been right. If you try to use that baby as leverage, I said, my voice shaking with rage, I will call the police and report you for extortion. My lawyer has statements from Melissa Patterson documenting your pattern of behavior. We have evidence, and we will use it. You're threatening me. I'm protecting my daughter. There's a difference. Audrey, he shouted away from the phone. Tell your mother. Tell her what this means. Fumbling, crying. Then Audrey's voice, broken and small. Mom, why? Why would you do this to me, to us, to your grandchild? Audrey Christian has been married twice before. Both times he targeted women with property. Both times he took their money and left. He researched our farm before he even asked you on a second date. He's been planning this from the beginning. You're lying. I'm not. Ask him about Melissa Patterson. Ask him about the restraining order. Ask him why he was fired from his family's company. Christian would never. Ask him, Audrey. Look him in the eye and ask him. I don't have to ask him anything. I trust my husband. Then you're making a terrible mistake. No, Mom. You made the mistake. You destroyed my future, my marriage, my family, and I will never forgive you. Never. Tears were streaming down my face now. I know, I whispered. I know you won't, but I had to protect you, even from yourself. It's not yours anymore, I said. The 4 words I'd been saving. The 4 words that changed everything. The land. It's not yours. It's not mine. It belongs to the future, to a trust that will preserve it forever, and Christian can't touch it. Mom, I love you, Audrey. I will always love you. But I won't let him destroy what 4 generations of our family built. I won't let him use you to take what isn't his. I hate you, she whispered. I know. I never want to see you again. I know that too. Goodbye, Mother. The line went dead. I stood under that tree phone in hand and let myself break. The rest of Wednesday was a blur. I drove home from Eleanor's office in a daze. The farmhouse felt different now. It wasn't mine anymore. Not really. I'd signed it away, given it to the trust, to the future. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Audrey, 12 more calls. Christian, 7 calls from different numbers. Unknown numbers, 8 more. Text messages flooding in. Audrey, I can't believe you would do this to me. Audrey, Christian says we can still fight this in court. Audrey, his brother Graham is a lawyer. You're going to regret this. Christian, this isn't over. Unknown, you're a terrible mother. Unknown, you'll never see your grandchild. I turned off my phone, sat in the silence of my kitchen, looked out at the land I'd just given away to save. Thursday was worse. I tried to work in the garden, tried to keep my hands busy, but every time I touched the soil, I thought about Audrey, about the baby she was carrying, about how I might never meet my grandchild. Eleanor called on the landline. Destiny, just checking on you. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Eleanor, did I do the right thing? She was quiet for a moment. Yes, absolutely yes. But that doesn't make it hurt less. Will she ever forgive me? I don't know. Maybe, when she's older, when she realizes what Christian really is, when she understands that you were protecting her. And if she doesn't, then you'll live with that, because some things are more important than being forgiven. Some things are worth sacrificing everything for. Friday morning, something changed. I woke up to pounding on my front door. 6:47 a.m. I threw on a robe and hurried downstairs. Through the window, I could see a car in my driveway. A Mercedes. Expensive. I opened the door. A man stood on my porch. Mid-40s. Well-dressed. Same polished look as Christian, but harder. More professional. Destiny Bennett. Yes. I'm Graham Walker, Christian's brother. My stomach dropped. What do you want? He glanced behind him like he was checking to make sure no one had followed. Mrs. Bennett, I need to speak with you, privately. It's about my brother and your daughter's safety. I didn't want to let him in, but something about his tone, his body language, it wasn't threatening. It was urgent, maybe even scared. 5 minutes, I said. Say what you need to say. He stepped into my living room but didn't sit down. Mrs. Bennett, I need to tell you something. Christian doesn't know I'm here. If he finds out, well, it won't be good. I'm listening. He took a breath, like he was gathering courage. Everything you've learned about my brother, the lawsuits, the ex-wives, the debt, it's all true. But there's more. Things you don't know yet. My heart was pounding. I'm a real estate attorney. I helped Christian with his first scheme back in 2015. Our parents had just died, left us the family firm. Christian needed money gambling debts. He found a widow, married her, convinced her to sell her house. We split the profit. I felt sick. I told myself it was just once, just helping my little brother out of a jam. But it wasn't just once. He pulled an envelope from his jacket, set it on my coffee table. This contains financial records. 7 women over the past 9 years. Your daughter is number 8. I've documented everything. Dates, amounts, methods. Why are you telling me this? Because Audrey's pregnant, and I have a daughter. She's 10 years old. If someone did to her what Christian is doing to Audrey, I'd want someone to tell me. He pulled out his phone, played an audio file. Christian's voice recorded, "The Bennett farm is worth $4 million developed. I'm not walking away from that." Graham's voice, "You said Audrey was different." Christian, "She is. She's sweet, naive, easy to manage, perfect wife material. But the farm is the priority." I gripped the arm of my chair. "Graham, and the baby Christian insurance policy. She won't leave me if she's pregnant. And if she does, I'll use custody as leverage. You know the playbook." The recording ended. Graham looked at me with something like shame in his eyes. "I recorded that conversation 2 weeks ago. I've been trying to find the courage to do something about it, to stop him. And then I heard what you did. The Conservation Trust." "How did you—" "Christian told me. He's furious. But Mrs. Bennett, he's also desperate. And desperate men do dangerous things." "What kind of dangerous things?" "I don't know exactly. But he's been making calls, meeting with people, shady people. He told me yesterday, if the trust goes through on Saturday, I have a backup plan." "What kind of backup plan?" "I don't know. But Mrs. Bennett, I think he might try to force Audrey to sue you. Or worse." "Worse how?" Graham's jaw tightened. "Christian has a temper. I've seen it. With Melissa, he hurt her. Not just financially, physically. That's why she got the restraining order." My blood went cold. "Are you saying he might hurt Audrey?" "I'm saying he's unpredictable when he doesn't get what he wants. And right now you've just taken away everything he's been working toward for 6 months." I stood up, paced, tried to think. "What do you want me to do?" "I want to help you get Audrey away from him, before tomorrow. before the trust becomes irrevocable and he realizes there's no way to get the farm. She won't listen to me. She hates me right now. She might listen to this. Graham held up his phone. This recording, her husband's own words admitting he's using her. I looked at the phone, at the evidence that could save my daughter. When? I asked. Tonight, Audrey's apartment. I'll go with you. We'll show her everything. The recording, the financial records, the truth about who Christian really is. And if she doesn't believe us, then at least we tried. But Mrs. Bennett, we're running out of time. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. that trust becomes permanent. Christian knows that. Whatever he's planning, it's going to happen soon. I made my decision. Okay, tonight. What time? 8 o'clock. I'll pick you up. Why are you doing this, Graham? Why turn on your own brother? He looked away, ashamed. Because I've been his accomplice for too long. Because I've helped him destroy 7 women's lives. Because I have a daughter and I don't want her to grow up thinking what I did was okay. He headed for the door, then turned back. Mrs. Bennett. What you did with the trust, that was brave. That was the right thing, even if Audrey doesn't see it yet. He left. I stood in my living room, Graham's envelope on my coffee table, and realized this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Scene 11 preparation. I spent the rest of Friday preparing. Called Eleanor, told her about Graham's visit. Destiny, I don't know if you should trust him, she said. He admitted to being Christian's accomplice. This could be a trap. What if it's not? What if he really wants to help? Then be careful. Don't go alone. I'm calling Detective Sarah Reeves. She specializes in domestic violence cases. She can go with you. Okay? And Destiny, if things go bad, if Christian is there, if he gets violent, you call 911 immediately. Do you understand? I understand. I hung up and looked at the clock. 4 hours until Graham picked me up. 4 hours until I faced my daughter and tried to save her from her own husband. I went to my bedroom, changed into jeans and a sweater, comfortable clothes, in case I needed to move fast. Grabbed my purse, made sure my phone was charged, called Detective Reeves. Mrs. Bennett, she said. Eleanor briefed me. I'll meet you at Audrey's apartment building, 8 p.m. I'll be in an unmarked car. If you need me, I'll be there in 30 seconds. Thank you. Mrs. Bennett, what you're doing is incredibly brave, but please be careful. Men like Christian Walker are most dangerous when they're cornered. At 7:30, Graham's Mercedes pulled into my driveway. I grabbed my purse and walked out. Tomorrow the trust would become irrevocable. Tomorrow the farm would be saved forever. But tonight I had to save my daughter. As we drove toward Atlanta, toward my daughter's apartment, toward a confrontation that could change everything I thought about Robert. About his letter, his warnings, his plan. He'd known this day might come, known I might have to fight for our family, and he'd given me the tools to do it. The trust would save the land. But could I save Audrey? In 90 minutes, I'd find out. If you're just catching up, here's where we are. I signed papers protecting our family farm forever in a conservation trust. My daughter Audrey, who's pregnant, thinks I destroyed her future. Her husband Christian is a con artist who's been planning to steal our land from the beginning. And now Christian's own brother Graham is taking me to Audrey's apartment to show her the truth. Let me tell you how this story ends. The drive to Atlanta felt longer than 90 minutes. Graham drove in silence for the first 30 miles. His hands gripped the steering wheel tight. His jaw clenched. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Why now? I asked. Why are you helping me now, after 9 years of helping him? Graham was quiet for a long moment. My daughter, he said finally. Emma. She's 10. Last week she asked me what I do for work. I told her I'm a real estate lawyer. She said, that sounds boring, Daddy. Do you help people? He swallowed hard. And I realized, no, I don't help people. I help my brother steal from them. I've spent 9 years being his accomplice. 9 years watching him destroy women's lives, telling myself it was just business. What changed? Emma asked me another question. She said, Daddy, if someone was being mean to me, would you stop them? And I said, of course I would. I'd do anything to protect her. His voice cracked. And then I thought about Audrey. She's somebody's daughter. And Christian is being more than mean to her. He's destroying her, using her. And I've been helping him do it. We drove past the Atlanta city limits sign. I can't undo the past 9 years, Graham said. But I can stop him now, before he does to Audrey what he did to Melissa, to the others. What did he do to Melissa? Graham's hands tightened on the wheel. He controlled her money, made her quit her job, isolated her from her friends, and when she got pregnant, he told her she was worthless, that she'd be nothing without him. She lost 30 pounds, stopped leaving the apartment. My stomach turned. And when she finally left him, took their baby and ran, he sued for custody. Not because he wanted the child, because he wanted to hurt her, to make her pay for leaving. How much did she pay him? $60,000 to make him go away, to give up his parental rights. I thought about Audrey, pregnant, scared, being manipulated by a monster. We're doing the right thing, I said. Yes, we are. We pulled into the parking lot of Audrey's apartment building at 7:53 p.m., a modern complex, 3 stories, lots of young professionals, the kind of place Audrey had been so excited about when she moved in 2 years ago, back when she was still herself, before Christian. Graham's phone buzzed. He checked it. Christian just posted on Instagram. He's at a business dinner across town. Should be gone for at least 2 hours. How do you know he's really there? Because I'm still following his credit cards. Just charged $200 at a steakhouse in Buckhead. He's there. I looked at Graham. You're still monitoring him. I've been monitoring him for years, keeping records, building a case. I didn't have the courage to use it until now. A car pulled into the lot. Unmarked sedan, Detective Sarah Reeves. She parked 3 spaces away. Didn't get out. Just nodded at us through the window. Ready if we needed her. Graham and I walked to the building entrance. Apartment 2C, he said. 2nd floor. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. We climbed the stairs, walked down the hallway, stopped in front of 2C. I could hear music playing inside. Something soft, classical. Audrey used to love classical music. When she was little, she'd dance around the living room to Vivaldi. I wondered if she still did that, or if Christian had taken that from her too. Graham knocked. Footsteps. The peephole darkened. Then the door opened. Audrey stood there and my heart broke. She'd lost weight. Too much weight. Her face was gaunt. Dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. Her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. This wasn't my daughter. Not the vibrant, confident girl I knew. This was what Christian had turned her into. Graham? She looked confused. What are you doing here? Then she saw me. Her face hardened. No, absolutely not. Get out. Audrey, please, I said. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. You destroyed my life. Audrey, Graham said gently, I need you to listen to something. It's about Christian. I don't want to hear it. Whatever lies my mother told you. They're not lies, Graham interrupted. I know, because I was there. I helped him. Audrey froze. What? Can we come in, please? Just for 10 minutes. If you still want us to leave after that, we will. She looked between us, uncertain. Finally, she stepped back. 10 minutes. That's it. Audrey's apartment was small but nice, or it had been once. Now it was cluttered. Dishes in the sink, laundry on the couch. The kind of mess that happens when you're too depressed to care. She sat down on the couch, arms crossed. Defensive. Talk. Graham pulled out his phone. Audrey, I need you to listen to something. It's a conversation between me and Christian, recorded 2 weeks ago. You recorded him, that's illegal. Georgia is a one-party consent state. It's perfectly legal. And Audrey, you need to hear this. He pressed play. Christian's voice filled the apartment. The Bennett farm is worth $4 million developed. I'm not walking away from that. Audrey's face went pale. Graham's recorded voice. You said Audrey was different. Christian. She is. She's sweet, naive, easy to manage. Audrey's hand went to her mouth. Perfect wife material, but the farm is the priority. Tears started streaming down her face. Graham's voice. And the baby? Audrey's whole body went rigid. Christian's voice cold and calculated. Insurance policy. She won't leave me if she's pregnant. And if she does, I'll use custody as leverage. You know the playbook. The recording ended. Silence. Complete, devastating silence. Audrey sat there, hand over her mouth, tears pouring down her face. "No," she whispered. "No, he wouldn't. He loves me." "Audrey," I said softly, moving to sit beside her. "He doesn't love you. He loves what you represent. Access to the farm, to money." "You're lying. This is fake. You edited it, or—" Graham pulled out a folder, the one he'd left at my house. "These are financial records. 7 women over 9 years. Names, dates, amounts stolen. I helped him with all of them. I'm not proud of it, but it's the truth." He spread the documents on the coffee table. Rebecca Morrison, 2015, married Christian. He convinced her to sell her mother's beach house, took the money and filed for divorce 6 months later. Sarah Mitchell, 2017. Christian convinced her to invest her inheritance in a real estate venture that didn't exist, took $200,000. Melissa Patterson, 2019. Got her pregnant, convinced her to sell her property, then sued for custody to extort money. Audrey stared at the documents. "And you?" Graham's voice was gentle but firm. "Audrey Bennett Walker, 2024. He researched your family's property before your 3rd date. Planned this entire relationship around getting access to that farm." "Stop," Audrey whispered. "Please stop." "I can't stop, because tomorrow your mother's conservation trust becomes permanent, and when Christian realizes he can't get the farm— Audrey, I don't know what he'll do, but I know he's dangerous." Audrey looked at me, really looked at me. "The trust. You really did it. You really made it so the farm can never be sold." "Yes." "Why?" "Because your great-grandfather bought that land with broken hands and 30 years of savings. Because your grandfather maintained it for 40 years. Because your father loved it like it was part of his soul. And because—" I took her hand. "Because I knew Christian would try to take it. And I couldn't let him destroy our family's legacy." "But you took away my inheritance." "No, sweetheart. I protected it. The trust pays you $2,000 a year. For life. You'll always have access to the land. You can live there, farm it, enjoy it. You just can't sell it." $2,000? She laughed bitterly. "Christian said we'd make millions." "Christian lied about everything," Graham said. "There are no investors, no development company, no business plan, just debt. $180,000 of it." Audrey's face crumpled. "I'm such an idiot." "No." I pulled her into my arms. "No, baby. You're not an idiot. You fell in love with someone who lied to you, who manipulated you. That's not your fault." She sobbed against my shoulder. "I said terrible things to you. At the wedding. On the phone. I told you I hated you." "I know." "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I forgive you. I forgave you the moment you said it." We sat there, mother and daughter, holding each other while she cried. Finally, she pulled back, wiped her eyes. "What do I do now?" Graham spoke up. "You leave. Tonight. Pack a bag. Come with us. We'll take you somewhere safe." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can," I said firmly. "You're coming home, to the farm, where you'll be safe." "But Christian will be dealt with," Graham said. "I'm turning over all the evidence to the FBI. Financial fraud, extortion, everything. He's going to prison, Audrey." She looked around the apartment, at the life she'd built with a man who'd been lying to her from day one. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let me pack." Audrey moved quickly. 20 minutes to pack essentials, clothes, toiletries, her laptop, important documents. She stopped at the bedroom dresser, picked up her wedding photo. Christian and Audrey smiling, happy, all lies. She threw it in the trash. "I'm ready." We were halfway to the door when it opened. Christian walked in. Time seemed to stop. Christian stood in the doorway, takeout bag in hand, staring at the 3 of us. At Audrey with her suitcase, at Graham with his folder of evidence, at me. "What the hell is this?" His voice was quiet, dangerous. "I'm leaving," Audrey said. Her voice shook but held steady. "I know everything, Christian. Graham played me the recording." Christian's face went from shocked to furious in seconds. "You recorded me," he turned on Graham. "You backstabbing piece of—" "I'm done being your accomplice," Graham said. "I'm turning everything over to the FBI. Financial fraud, extortion, pattern of abuse across multiple victims." Christian's eyes went wild. "You can't prove anything." "I can prove everything. I kept records, all of it. Christian stepped into the apartment, closed the door behind him. No one's leaving this apartment. I pulled out my phone, held it up so he could see. Detective Reeves is parked outside. One call and she's here in 30 seconds. You brought the police? Christian laughed, mean and ugly. For what, I haven't broken any laws. Financial fraud is a law, Graham said. Extortion is a law. And based on that bruise on Audrey's wrist, the one she's been hiding, I'm guessing assault is about to be added to the list. Christian's face darkened. Audrey, tell them I never hurt you. Audrey pulled up her sleeve. The bruise was worse than I thought. Dark purple, the clear shape of fingers. You grabbed me, she said quietly. Last week, when I said I wanted to wait before talking to Mom about the farm. You grabbed my wrist and told me I was being stupid, that I needed to do what you said. I didn't mean— Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. Christian's control was slipping. I could see it in his eyes. Everything I did was for us, for our future, for our baby. You don't care about the baby, Audrey said. You told Graham it was an insurance policy. You don't understand the context. I understand perfectly. You married me for my family's land. When my mother protected it, you lost. And now you're trying to salvage whatever you can. Christian took a step toward her. I moved between them. Don't, I said. Don't even think about it. Get out of my way, old woman. No. He reached for me. The door burst open. Detective Reeves' gun drawn 2 uniformed officers behind her. Step away from them. Now. Christian's hands went up, his face a mask of rage and fear. This is harassment. I haven't done anything. Christian Walker, you're under arrest for assault, financial fraud, and extortion. Detective Reeves moved forward with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. As they cuffed him, Christian looked at Audrey. This is your fault. All of it. You and your controlling mother. That's enough, Detective Reeves said, leading him out. And just like that, it was over. We spent the next 3 hours at the police station, giving statements, providing evidence. Graham turned over everything, 9 years of documentation, financial records, recorded conversations, testimonies from ex-wives. The FBI Financial Crimes Unit was brought in. By midnight, the charges were extensive wire fraud, mail fraud, extortion, assault, pattern of abuse across multiple victims. He's looking at 15 years minimum, Detective Reeves told us. With Graham's cooperation and testimony from the other victims, it could be more. Graham sat in a separate interview room. His own charges were being discussed. Accessory to fraud, conspiracy, 9 years of complicity. What's going to happen to him? I asked Detective Reeves. That depends. He's cooperating fully, turned over evidence. That counts for a lot. But he still committed crimes. Eleanor arrived at 1 a.m., started negotiating on Graham's behalf. He gets immunity for full cooperation. That's the deal. Otherwise, Christian's lawyers will drag this out for years. By 3 a.m., they had an agreement. Graham would testify against Christian, would help recover funds for all the victims, would pay restitution from his own assets, in exchange reduced charges, probation instead of prison, loss of his law license, but freedom. When Graham emerged from the interview room, he looked exhausted, broken, but also relieved. Thank you, he said to me, for giving me the chance to do the right thing. Thank you for protecting my daughter. He nodded, turned to Audrey. I'm sorry, for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything, but you saved me, Audrey said quietly, when you could have stayed silent. You chose to help. That means something. By 4 a.m., we were finally allowed to leave. Audrey and I drove back to Bibb County in silence. She was exhausted, pregnant, traumatized, but she was free. The sun was rising as we pulled into the farm driveway. Audrey hadn't been here in 6 months, not since she'd moved to Atlanta, not since she'd met Christian. She got out of the car slowly, looked around, the pecan trees, the cottage, the farmhouse. I forgot how beautiful it is, she whispered. Come on, baby, let's get you inside. I made her tea. Decaf for the baby. We sat at the kitchen table as dawn light filled the room. Mom, Audrey's voice was small. Can I ask you something? Anything. How did you know about Christian? I didn't. Not at first, but at the wedding. Something felt wrong. And then when he asked for the farm the next day, I shook my head. I knew I needed to investigate, to protect you. The trust. Dad set it up 14 years ago, like he knew this might happen someday. I went to Robert's office, brought back his letter. He left this for me, said to give it to you when you were ready. Audrey read her father's words, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she looked at me. He was protecting me, even from beyond the grave. Yes. And you. You risked everything. Our relationship, your chance to know your grandchild, all to protect the farm, to protect me. Some love looks like saying no, I quoted Robert's letter. Audrey stood up, crossed to me, pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything I said, everything I did. You were being manipulated. That wasn't your fault. I should have listened to you, should have trusted you. You're listening now. That's what matters. We stood there holding each other as the sun rose over the land 4 generations of our December. The farm was beautiful in winter. Frost on the fields, the pecan trees bare but strong. Audrey was 5 months pregnant now, healthy, glowing. She'd filed for divorce in September. Christian, facing federal charges, hadn't contested it, had waived all parental rights in exchange for a reduced sentence. 12 years, that's what he got. Federal prison. Graham had helped every step of the way, testified against his brother, helped recover over $2 million for Christian's victims. He visited sometimes, brought his daughter Emma to the farm. Audrey had forgiven him, slowly, carefully, but genuinely. He made terrible choices, she'd said, but he chose to make them right. That takes courage. Now it was Christmas Eve. I was in the kitchen making my mother's pecan pie recipe. Audrey walked in hand on her belly. Mom, the baby's kicking. I put down the rolling pin, came over, put my hand on her stomach. A little flutter, a tiny kick. My grandchild. Have you thought about names? I asked. If it's a girl, I want to name her Robin, after Dad. Tears filled my eyes. He would love that. And if it's a boy, James, after Great-Grandpa. Perfect. The kitchen timer went off. Pie was ready. We sat at the table just like we had that terrible morning in September when everything changed. But this time we were together, safe, healing. Mom, Audrey said, thank you for protecting me, even when I hated you for it. I'd do it again, every time. I know, she smiled. That's what makes you a good mother. That afternoon we walked the property together. 55 acres, protected forever. Audrey was planning to move back to the farm permanently, live in the cottage, raise her baby here. I want my child to grow up like I did, she said, with dirt under their fingernails, with pecan trees to climb, with roots. What about work? I'm starting a nonprofit, helping women leave abusive relationships, using the farm as a safe space for retreats, workshops, healing. My heart swelled with pride. Audrey, that's wonderful. Christian destroyed a lot of women's lives. I want to help rebuild them. And I figured, what better place than here, where our family learned about protection and legacy? We stopped at the big oak tree, where Robert's ashes were scattered. Hey, Dad, Audrey said softly. I get it now. What you were trying to protect. Why Mom did what she did. Thank you for loving us enough to say no. I put my arm around my daughter. 4 generations of Bennetts had walked this land. Soon a 5th generation would be born here, and the land would be waiting, protected, preserved, forever. The Bennett Family Farm Conservation Trust now hosted monthly events, educational programs for schools, workshops on sustainable farming, and Audrey's nonprofit Second Chances Farm helping dozens of women every year. I was 67 now, semi-retired, volunteering at the farm, watching my granddaughter grow. Robin Bennett, 4 years old, running through the pecan groves just like her mother had, just like I had, just like James Bennett had dreamed when he bought this land in 1954. Audrey stood on the porch, pregnant again. A boy this time, James. Mom, Robin called. Come push me on the swing. Coming baby. I watched them. My daughter, my granddaughter, my family. And I thought about that terrible August morning, when I'd had to choose between my daughter's love and her protection. It had been the hardest choice of my life, but it had been the right one. The land was protected. Audrey was safe. Robin was thriving. And sometimes late at night, I swear I could hear Robert's voice on the wind. You did good, Destiny. You did real good.